Now we'll join our Abuja studio where we have Alhaji Buba Galadima, elder statesman, a member of the Reformed All Progressives Congress of Nigeria, waiting to discuss a number of national issues with us. Alhaji Galadima, good morning and welcome to the morning show. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning and thank you very much.
Good morning. The last time I read about you, it was a story about you being on the streets. So it's good to see you looking good and not being on the streets, but sitting comfortably in our Rice News studio in Abuja. But I would like to ask you simply, as we do in Nigeria, how country?
Yeah.
What is the state of your country, Nigeria, that you speak about so frequently? Are you concerned that things are in the hands of coronavirus and government at all levels simply struggling to cope?
Well, thank you very much for welcoming me to this program. And I would want to say that things are picking up, but definitely government has not paid much attention much earlier. What we are doing, as usual in our country, is fire brigade approach. In fire brigade approaches, we always make mistakes. And I hope that the stimulus is approved by government don't go into private pockets, go into the pockets of those who will get married and get chieftaincy titles. It is a serious issue that affecting the whole world. In my religion and in my locality, they would have said that we have angered God maybe in one way or the other, or in one form or the other. We may not know. That is why God is visiting the world with this kind of calamity and catastrophe. COVID-19 is a reality, and a lot of people actually affected or infected all over the world, including developed nations. It is our view that government should be more serious about this and take measures, drastic measures that would really deliver us from this catastrophe. One of such measures is that, as usual, and as Nigerians, we must subject ourselves to prayers. Our men of God in all faiths and even those that do not believe in God must fervently pray that we are delivered, because if such a calamity really gets into the markets in Nigeria, only God would imagine what would really happen. So what could the government do? I will suggest that government should shut down all public offices. And after all, in most ministries of Nigeria, less than 5 people work: the permanent secretary, the director of finance and supply, the cashier, or the treasurer, and the minister. So every other person should be asked to stay at home for these purposes. The only group that we would need are the health workers, the water board people in various levels, local, state, and FCT, and indeed those who help us with electricity, NEPA. These are the only 3 most important and essential services that we need. But of course, I wouldn't forget the press, because the press and the television stations must be kept alive 24 hours, informing us and updating us on situations from one location to the other. This is not a secret anymore. It is all over the world. Therefore, we need and will hold the government responsible by informing citizens of what is happening. And the salaries that we will cut salaries of public servants that are not going to work maybe for 1 month, give them about 50% of their salary, and we use the 50% to support the needy who are not in a position to feed themselves beyond the next meal. This has to be done in order for us to get out of this situation. We do pray that it does not get into bigger cities like Kano, Lagos, Ibadan, Onitsha, Aba, Maiduguri, and a host of others, because we have not imbibed the culture of keeping our environment clean, keeping our safes clean. Therefore, and this coronavirus has to do with public health, and we must assemble our best epidemiologists across the country, irrespective of where they come from, irrespective of where is their location, to put their heads together to deliver us. Our pharmaceutical industries that are going to be given some stimulus, we must make sure that they use this stimulus for exactly the purposes for which they are given, not to divert them and make money out of it. Government, instead of crashing the Naira, they should reaffirm the Naira, bring down interest rate to the barest minimum. And above all, I will want to end by saying that government should suspend the budget, completely suspend, because 95% of our recurrent budget are being siphoned and being stolen by public servants. Now that we will close the ministries, as I suggest, we take 95% of those recurrent budget and convert them into stimulus to assist the people of this country. We have no need for capital budget. Of course, you also know, all of us know, that there is no capital budget ongoing in Nigeria that is worth the life of one single Nigerian. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I mean, you've come up with a list of concrete measures, and that, for me, is leadership. But I'd like to start with what you said about public servants to be made to sacrifice their salaries for the greater good. I mean, all morning we've been here discussing
50%.
The issue. Yeah, 50% of their salary. We've been here discussing the issue of the limitations of central bank stimulus efforts and how they can't really reach the most desperate and the most vulnerable amongst us, those who, if they do not work in a day, will not eat that day. So that is a solid suggestion to address that problem. Now, where should that be implemented? Earlier on, Dr. Abati made a point about the legislature being somewhat silent in the face of this crisis. All these are measures that you have listed. Where would you like to see them being driven from, the legislature or the executive?
No, even the legislature, they are not supposed to sit, as far as I'm concerned. They should, only their principal officers should be around in Abuja, maybe to sit every day, receive requests for approval from government. And all the rest of the members should be deployed to their constituencies. And they deliberate online. This has been done. I have a daughter who schools in India, in one of the schools in India, sponsored. And this daughter has rushed home. She's doing her lessons online. We can do that. A lot of money has been stolen by our public officers by expanding our spectrum of getting into the internet. This is the time to test those things that we have budgeted a lot of money for years back and see whether they work or they don't work. There are still honest Nigerians who, when given assignment of this nature, they would rather lose their life or lose their savings in order to save other Nigerians. They are not out of... This is not a time for nepotism. This is not a time for politics. This is not a time for job for the boys. This is a time for men and women of this country that can deliver us from this menace. We have to be careful. We have to be careful. And
well, Alhaji Galadima, are you still there with us? Alhaji Galadima, can you hear me?
Well,
it looks like yeah, there is a technical hitch there in terms of connection. But some of the things that he has suggested, they are very radical in my view, saying that the budget should be completely suspended. If we suspend the budget completely, then where is the roadmap? Are you saying shut down government? because at the same time, you still need to do some capital projects.
He
you
just
still
said
need to
we
do
shouldn't do any capital
recurrent
project.
expenditure.
And he said a huge chunk of the recurrent expenditure ends up in people's pockets.
Yeah, so that's like an
those.
extreme solution in my view. But about saying public servants should give up about 50% of their earnings, well, yes, okay, yes, they can make the sacrifice. That may be necessary because when the country is in crisis, some people, privileged members of society, can make some sacrifice. But oftentimes we forget that public servants too have dependents.
Yeah.
And in the time of crisis, they also need, to take care of people around them. But in any case, these are unusual times. Unusual times perhaps require unusual solutions. Well, Alhaji Galadima, we're glad to have you back with us. There was a technical hitch in terms of connection with Abuja. But I would like to ask you this. One of the major concerns by Nigerians around this whole issue of COVID-19 is Nigerians have been saying that they expect President Muhammadu Buhari to come forward and take charge and address the people, to empathize, to inspire confidence. We have seen the president of Ghana. He has addressed the people of Ghana three times now, and he labels it a national address, 1, 2, 3. But we have not had our own president coming forward. But what we're told by the authorities is that President Buhari doesn't like showmanship. He's not into, showing off. And that's why he has not spoken. And that at the appropriate time, he will come forward. Although there is a video that has been circulating in the last 24 hours or thereabouts. Do you think this requires the president coming forward, or the measures that have been taken so far, which he authorized, are adequate? We'll take a short break, and then we'll come back to you for your response. We'll be right back. It's still the morning show here on Arise News. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Stay with us is elder statesman Alhaji Buba Galadima, who is in Arise Abuja studio. Alhaji Galadima has been commenting on coronavirus and how Nigeria is managing it. Alhaji Galadima, before we went on break, I had asked you a question about whether we are getting the right leadership from the highest level with regard to the management of COVID-19, and whether President Buhari, as people have been requesting, needs to address the nation, take charge, provide leadership, empathy, and take personal charge, as it were, since the buck stops at his desk. What do you think?
Well, let me say that I don't want to comment on Nigerian leadership because I had spoken so much on inadequacies of leadership at contemporary Nigeria today. And when I saw the president of Ghana spoke 2 weeks ago, when only one case of coronavirus was identified in Ghana, I shed tears at that time for my country because I thought that there would be nobody available to address the nation, motivate the nation, encourage Nigerians, tell them our situation and what the government is doing. Is just most unfortunate. Let's not talk about leadership. What we should talk about is Nigerians standing up to put pressure on this government to do the needful. And I will give you an example. When the insecurity situation got to a peak last month in Nigeria, all Nigerians stood up and asked for the sacking of service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police. Now, I want to record that that pressure has yielded results because the insecurity situation has come down, meaning that these service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police know what to do, how to do it, but simply they refuse to do it for reasons best known to them. When we put pressure on this government, they must do the needful. We must show them directive because this is a government that has no plan, has no direction for the people of this country. And I heard you say that how can you suspend capital budget in Nigeria? Capital budget is not worth the life of one single Nigerian. Therefore, it should be suspended. We should hold this government responsible. We should tell the president that, after all, it is not a monarchy. The president is the servant of the people. He must address us on a daily basis on the situation our people find themselves in this country. It is his responsibility. We will hold him up to it. He has assigned to it. He has sworn to protect our lives and our property. It is not like that we are forcing him to do, or we are forcing the government to do what they are not supposed to do. This is their primary responsibility.
It is indeed, sir. Thank you for that. I want to talk to you now about the restrictions on religious and social gatherings and the fact that we saw some really worrying scenes over the weekend, that this advice was not heeded in some quarters. What do you think this suggests about the psyche of the average Nigerian, and how can we actually ensure that people obey this advisory, which is really for their own benefit?
Well, the situation is that the people do not believe in this government anymore. Nobody believes in this government. And nobody trusts this government. And nobody believes that this government can act in their interest. This is the reason. And it is this distrust that whatever the government says, nobody believes in it. I want to tell you a story that is going round. It may not be true. In Russia, they said, when they put this restriction, everybody stays at home. Early in the morning, you just open your door, you find a parcel containing food and all essential items you need for the day. You carry it inside for you and your family. And when people still decide to come out, what we learned, whether it is rumors or truth, Putin decides to release lions into the streets. And everybody went back. But this is a government that is not used to carrying its citizens alone. A lot of people need explanation. A lot of our people have no education. They don't even understand. But it is a strong, it is a strong propaganda. That's why I said one of the essential services that will be kept alive will be the press, especially the radio stations and the television, so that they keep on educating our people. We should look for trusted members of this government to talk to Nigerians. If the president cannot do that, you cannot bring those other people that once they speak, the nation will say, oh, this is a liar. So they cannot really motivate the people and inject confidence in them. But you have to use our religious leaders, our community leaders, to talk to our people that this is in their best interest. It's not in the interest of government. It's in their interest. This is how we must carry our people along. If that fails, we may even be forced to use the stick, because to save every Nigerian is a task that must be done at all costs.
Thank you so much, sir, for
Thank
coming in this morning and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you for joining us on the morning.